What's up, guys? For Complex News, I'm Fraser. On this Martin Luther King Day weekend, it's worth remembering that while MLK may now be a national hero, loved by all and with his own national holiday to prove it, his efforts weren't nearly as universally celebrated when he was actually around. King and the civil rights movement as a whole, as most movements for social change do, faced a lot of disparaging criticism during their heyday, which is something worth remembering the next time your racist coworker starts loudly berating the Black Lives Matter movement for being counterproductive. This might seem surprising. After all, the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s had world-beating victories, ending public segregation, ensuring the right to vote, and much more. And the people who stood against those shifts are now generally thought of as the worst of the worst, vicious racists who would spit on and beat school children or sick dogs on marchers. But just look at the stats. In June 1963, only a few months before the March on Washington where King would make his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, Gallup did a poll asking, do you think mass demonstrations by Negroes are more likely to help or more likely to hurt the Negro cause for racial equality? An overwhelming 60% of people said hurt, while only 27% said help. And the March on Washington itself, now held up as an iconic and often copied historical moment, that's right, people were against it at the time too. 60% of people viewed it unfavorably, while only 23% were in favor. Less surprising, of course, given the era, is MLK himself was vastly unpopular among white people. In a December 1966 poll, a full 50% of white people said that King was hurting rather than helping the cause of civil rights. Now compare these surveys to nearly identical numbers from August 2017. In a Harvard University poll, 57% of voters and 65% of whites said they had a negative view of the Black Lives Matter movement. On the flip side, public opinion among African Americans was then, and is now, overwhelmingly in favor of movements for racial justice. Black Lives Matter had 81% support among African Americans in a recent poll, and black people overwhelmingly supported King, or wanted him to be more radical during his lifetime. Most white people, on the other hand, just wanted the whole thing to stop, and they still do. Since the beginning of the BLM movement in 2014, when white people overwhelmingly thought race got more attention than it deserved in the Michael Brown case, they have consistently missed the point of what this incarnation of the civil rights movement is about. Movements for racial justice, in fact, movements for any kind of justice, generally become universally popular only when they're in the rearview mirror. Martin Luther King, pursued by the FBI, despised by a portion of the public, and ostracized even within his own movement for his stands against war and imperialism, became, after his assassination and after the movement he helped to lead made historic gains, an untouchable icon, literally carved in stone in our nation's capital. But that's a fairly recent state of affairs. In the not that long ago 1980s, it was acceptable for a senator to fulminate against the idea of making King's birthday a national holiday because he was a, quote, Marxist who espoused radical views. In fact, many states had end-runs around acknowledging King's birthday even after it became a national holiday. Several southern states combined King's celebration with Robert E. Lee's birthday in an incredibly obvious show of racist defiance. It took until 2000 for King's birthday to be celebrated in all 50 states as its own holiday. It seems likely that the shift that we saw with MLK, where perceived radical goals become common sense and generally accepted after they're accomplished, may well happen with BLM in the struggle against racist police violence and state repression. There's certain to be a day when Black Lives Matter becomes as iconic and uncontroversial as a statement as "I have a dream." Let's hope we get there soon. For Complex News, I'm Fraser.